Chapter 10. Help from the Hallows Part 2. A day went by, and there was little to no movement or noise at Hogwarts. Harry and Thomas were able to stay undercover for a while, and had given the Harry of that time the Confundo charm, so that the other Harry, the modern one, could take his place. Modern Harry and Thomas wandered near the entrance of the Great Hall, and could see Snape at the front of the hall, with the students looking grimly at him. Modern Harry leaned over to Thomas, and started to whisper in his ear. Thomas then nodded his head in agreement and proceeded into the hall. Snape was facing the giant window at the end of the hall, so he was not seeing Thomas sneaking in. He then crept up to a student and put his hand around one of the boys' mouths. He dragged him out of the hall and laid him on the ground. "Oh, the bloody hell are you two doing—" "Would you be quiet? Wait a minute. I don't know who you are, but you, Harry Potter. Headmaster Snape is looking for you, and if you don't, obliviate," Thomas said, silencing and erasing the boy's memory. The boy then looked dumbfounded at the boys. "Who are you two?" Better yet, who am I?" The boy started to chuckle. Thomas and Harry left the boy and looked back into the hall and saw Snape now facing the crowd of students standing. He began to speak. He was asking the students if they knew the whereabouts of Harry Potter. Modern Harry then returned to the boy whose memory was erased. "I need to borrow your robes." "I'm sorry, but aren't you clothed already?" Modern Harry then hit the boy on the head, knocking him out. He then took the robes off the boy and put them on. "Time for another swig," he said, as he sipped out of the flask twice. Soon he grew and appeared older than at Dumbledore's death, about a year. Modern Harry then quietly made himself into the crowd. Snape walked down from the front of the hall and slowly stroked along the lines and groups of students. He then asked again if anyone had seen Harry. Modern Harry soon stepped away from one of the groups. The whole hall erupted in a gasp. Snape stopped in his path. Thomas watched from the back of one of the groups. "It seems, despite your exhaustive defense strategies, you still have a bit of a security problem, Headmaster." Suddenly, a group of people entered the hall, and Thomas backed away. The group consisted of adults and students, two of which winked at Thomas. It was Ron and Hermione. Thomas was in shock, attempting to put together the parts of all that he had been through recently. He was in so much surprise that he did not even notice the commotion in the hall. Modern Harry stood up to Snape and shunned him away from Hogwarts as McGonagall pushed him out with her wand. This was just as Modern Harry predicted. After getting himself back to logical thinking, Thomas looked again and saw the students jumping up and down, and that the giant window was smashed. He then noticed Dawn and Elizabeth. He whispered to them and signaled to them to come to him. They came towards Thomas and embraced him. "Where the bloody hell have you been, Sculptor? How dare you leave us in peril like that for an entire year?" Elizabeth shouted, slapping Thomas on the shoulder. "Ow! You have got to stop hitting people." The three all looked into the hall and then locked eyes with Harry, Ron, and Hermione. All six winked at each other. Modern Harry then tapped his pocket. Thomas reached down at his pocket and felt a chain and something hanging off it. Potter then mouthed a word. Thomas nodded and smiled. The three left the entrance and were on their way. "Going somewhere," a voice said from behind the students. Snape stared down at them. "I thought you crashed through the window." "I have been wondering where you have been. When I was asking where Mr. Potter was, I meant you." The three reached for their wands. Snape pointed his wand. "Expelliarmus." The wands jumped from the students' hands to the ground near the feet of Snape. "Well, now it seems like we are powerless. It only seems like we have one option." "Stop babbling, boy. If I can't have the real Potter, if that is your real name, then I will have this one." At that moment, Thomas reached into his pocket and pulled out the chain and the charm. It was the Deathly Hallows symbol. "Dobify!" he screamed. A burst of wind and light came from the charm and blew Snape far away into another part of the castle. The wind and light soon subsided, and there was nothing, and the students were gone from the castle.